Hi there, I'm Sandeep Giri. I'm going to go through a project at CloudX Lab. It's a guided project. And what this project does is it lets you build a web application. And this web application will basically identify objects in image. So we will experiment with many images and see how it goes. Please note that it is not something specific to CloudX Lab that this tutorial teaches. This tutorial teaches something open source, and that's the de facto standard for most of the way the applications are built today. All right, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so you can see that here, okay. Now, this is the you can see my browser, right? So let's open CloudX Lab. I'm going to increase the font a bit so that it is coming out really well. Okay, so we are going to go into, say, guided projects. Okay, so basically the idea of guided projects is that it gives you instructions, then you can write the code in the lab, and then it evaluates the code. Right? Please note that any framework or any technology that we're teaching is not specific to CloudX Lab. We are teaching something that is out there in public and will be very useful in your career. All right. So let's get started. So we click on Explore Project. Now here is a very important part. So there are many projects over here. This one is image classification with pre-trained inception network. This one is Heroku. This one is KNN classifier. This one is building the, right? Go through these. We are going to particularly do this one today. All right. So let's get started. All right. So, all right. So what we are going to do here is that we will basically create a project which will help you understand how to develop a web application using Flask for image classification. All right. So it's very highly recommended that you learn how to do the image classification with pre-trained Keras model, but that's okay. Even if you have not done it, I'll explain it on the way. It is not that hard, okay? But it'll be great that if you learn about how the machine learning work and how does the machine learning models work. All right, so this is the first step. So let's go ahead, mark it as completed, no big deal. All right. So the next one is here. The tutorial explains about how does what's the structure of the project, right? So very important part to know is that what we are building is we are building a web application, right? What is a web application? Web application is a piece of software that runs on the server, right? And meaning that when somebody is asking for a particular URL, this application server will respond to it. Okay, whenever somebody requests for a URL, this application server would have the code to do things what is supposed to be done for handling that particular request, whether it will read a file and give the file as is, for example, an image, or it would give JavaScript, HTML, and so on for the browser, and the browser will render the JavaScript and HTML and CSS. All right, and basically we have to build the entire logic on what to do when the user asks for the home page, when the user submits the image, and so on. All right. So the end exercise of this one is that it'll show you a page in the browser where you can select an image and then you'll upload an image, and then afterwards, when you upload an image, it will display. It will basically display the object names which are found in that image. All right, so that's the main objective. So let's keep that in mind, that the main objective is to build a web application that identifies objects in the image. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to build it in a framework called Flask. There are many frameworks in Python, such as Django and others, which basically help you build the web application. We are going ahead with Flask because Flask is a lightweight web application server, and it is very much recommended to build small applications using Flask. And these days, instead of building monolith big web applications, what people do is people build these smaller web applications in companies, and they are called the smaller services, and they interact with each other and they serve to the user by the way of combining multiple servers, right? That's a classic architecture in these days. Instead of having a big web application which is doing everything, these days people have smaller web applications doing individual specific tasks. All right, or you can say services in some way or the other. Now let's move ahead. So let's understand the architect structure of this. The one that you see in this color are folders. So they will be creating a folder, a folder name of this one, where we'll keep all the things at the top. Okay. So then we will be having this file, right? We'll be having this file. This is the name of the file, and then we'll have this folder, another folder, and this one is a CSS file. This one is a Python helper file. Okay, this is a Python helper file in which we'll keep the Python code, which will do various things. And here, this is the CSS file. What does CSS file do? CSS file is a style. If you know on a website, you want to color something, you want to underline something, or you want to say, right, so make it a bold, left line, right line, that styling goes in a CSS. All right. So in your web page, you include CSS and it applies those settings or those styles onto your HTML page. All right. Please note that here we are trying to build a complete web application. So there is HTML, there's CSS, and there is Python code. All right. This is something interpreted by the browser, and this is something interpreted by again, this is also interpreted by the browser, but this one contains the template. Okay, so what is a template? Template is nothing but a page whereby the values will be substituted on the server side and given that HTML is given to the user. So this one has placeholders whereby we can fill in things. Similarly, this is another page which basically uh, is for what happens once the user uploads the data. After uploading this is what is going to get rendered. Index.html is something that is the first page on a web application. When you say google.com/, usually the hit goes to the index.html. On a web server, the first query goes to the index.html, but that is configurable on the server side. Okay. Now app.py contains the mapping. What to do when the user calls a particular URL. Okay, what to do when people call slash, what to do when people call slash upload, what to do when people call image, and so on. So all of that mapping is done here. All right, all of that mapping is done here. So we are going to, this is what is explained in here. Okay, so there is layout, there is upload, there is index.html, then is app.py. I'm going to explain each part of it as we move ahead. And right, this video is going to be a bit longer, so stay with me and pay closer attention to understand how does the CSS look like, JavaScript look like, and so on. Okay, if you are not familiar with web application, right, this would be your first web application where you will learn everything in a single shot. All right, it is very much possible, and trust me, in the beginning you'll just memorize what is where, and then slowly the things will settle down as you do more things, and then you will learn really well. Okay, so great. Let's move ahead. I'll just mark it completed, nothing to do here. Okay, now the important part is creating the project directory. Okay, so it is saying that we can create a new directory named my directory using this command. Yes, so mkdir is a way you create directories in Linux. In any operating system, whether it's Windows or Linux or Mac, everywhere the data is kept in files, right? Data is kept in files which is saved in the disk. Okay, sometimes SSD, sometimes hard disk. Now these files are organized such that there are folders. Folders can contain files and other folders. So this way you can create folders within folders and so on, right? So, and that same philosophy is followed everywhere, okay? So here, all of the things that we are going to save is in a local file system. Okay, look, as in local, as in CloudX Lab file system right now, but you can do the same thing on your machine and build a web application quickly. So all the software packages are public, open source. There is nothing specific to CloudX Lab that you would need when you're going to real production. Let's say you're working in your company and you want to build a web application there. The whatever technology you learn here, all of that will be applicable there as well. You don't need to buy anything from CloudX Lab and so on. All right. So here we go ahead. So we are creating a parent folder called this one, mkdir, and this. Okay. So make sure that you do this and submit the answer. Okay. So this one does a quick check whether I have created the folder or not. Okay. You can check it out if, let's say here, if I'm submitting the answer without doing, it'll throw an error that environment is not created, right? So make sure to follow the steps so that you keep on getting the points. I'll not get the points on every step because I have already done it once. Therefore, it won't give me the points. All right. So the idea of all of this environment is that you all learn something and build something useful and thereby become successful in career. Okay, so if you learn to build things, the chances of you becoming successful is very high. So we created the parent folder. You can see that this is the parent folder. I used a command mkdir space image dash classification dash app and then pressed enter. So this is essentially a Linux command. What it does is this is the argument of the command, and this is the main command, and this basically creates this directory. All right. So if you want to know what is mkdir or any command for that matter in Linux or Unix, you can say man mkdir. Okay. So it shows you what is mkdir and so on. All right. This is the basic principle around the Linux console and so on. If you have not gone through Linux tutorial at CloudX Lab, do go through it. It's one of the wonderful tutorials, and I can assure you that it'll help you in many ways. Okay, now moving ahead. So here we go. So the next important thing to do is we need lots of packages to install, right? We'll need Flask, we'll need TensorFlow, we'll need other things. Okay, so Flask is the framework in Python that makes the web application possible, and TensorFlow is a framework by Google, and it's an open source framework to do lots of machine learning related tasks. You can definitely build everything what is there in TensorFlow using Python, but they'll take a long time, so we'll just use that one. Second, the image, right? When the user is uploading image, we need to resize it and so on. For that, we are going to use a library called Pillow. All right. So there are going to be many libraries to be installed. And though we could install everything for you in CloudX Lab, but we realized that in real practical scenario, people would like to create their own system. And therefore, we needed to create a virtual environment. All right, so let's move ahead. So we created this directory. Now we are creating a virtual environment. Virtual environment is a very great innovation from Python side. So instead of spoiling the application for everybody, let's say you needed Python 3, you needed Python 3, I need Python 2, or you needed a particular version of Flask, or if you have, let's say, multiple applications, one is asking for 1.2 version, other is asking for 1.1 version, and you install it on the machine and then other one breaks and so on. So this becomes like really messy, right? Unlike on when you are installing, remember the DLL hell on Windows, that if you install multiple versions of the same application, becomes like messy, right? This is where Python solved this problem wonderfully by creating virtual environments. So every user can create multiple virtual environment per project. In that virtual environment, they can install all the dependencies, and once the dependencies are installed, they can easily move between the virtual environments and run multiple applications with different versions of the different packages, and that's like really wonderful. Okay, so now the thing is that for your this particular project, we're going to create a virtual environment, and in that virtual environment we are going to install everything. All right, so it's pretty simple. Go to this folder. That's what is explained above. Okay, go to this folder. So we entered into this folder cd image classification dash app. Okay, then we are saying virtual environment. So this is virtual environment space. The name of the environment is this one. Make sure the environment is same. You can, of course, you can keep any environment, but since we are in a guided project, so our system will be quickly checking. It'll be quickly checking the this environment to check whether you have installed things or not. All right. So make sure that you keep the name correct, including the folder name as well as this. Of course, you in a real life scenario, this folder name is something that you have to decide. Similarly, this is the name of the virtual environment that you have to keep. All right, so now moving ahead. Now, if you notice here that when we create a virtual environment, it has created a folder for it. Okay, so if there is another folder that you have created, let's say another version of Flask app or another Django app, it is completely okay, right? Because they'll be in that separate folder, right? So now let's try to activate this. The way you activate is using source and this, and then say bin/activate. Okay, so now once you activate an environment, you get this label here. It shows that you are in that environment. Okay, now if you want to deactivate it, you can deactivate it like this. Okay, by just typing deactivate. You don't need to give the name at the time of deactivate. So now let's activate again and move ahead. Okay, I've done good. Now moving ahead. So it's asking, it's saying that, right, we need, one is Flask. Okay, Flask is the main framework from Python, which basically does all the magic of web application. It basically maps the URL to the piece of code. Okay, URL to the piece of code and what to do when. Okay, that's what Flask does. And we'll be defining that path in that app.py. So let's install Flask first. Okay, so here we are saying that install a particular version of Flask. Okay, usually a good practice is to install, a particular version of application. Specifically, what you do is you keep all these things in a file and you say pip -i and give the file name, and file name is generally the requirement.txt. Okay, but here we're just going step by step. So we have successfully installed the Flask app. Okay, now the second one is it's asking to upgrade pip or upgrade or install the setup tools. Okay, setup tools are again useful tools for Python, and it's saying upgrade as in it'll install uninstall the old one and keep the new one. Notice that here we are not specifying version, we are letting it install the latest version. Now what we are doing is we are saying pip install force install grpcio. So we are installing this particular library which is required by TensorFlow and others. Okay, so we are installing grpcio. You can take a look at what exactly is grpcio in the meantime when it is installing. So you can see that it is grpc. Okay, basically it's an RPC. RPC means remote process, right? Remote process, what is it? Command, remote, yeah, remote. RPC is essentially remote procedure call. Remote procedure call, and essentially this is for executing things remotely using Python. All right, this is needed by TensorFlow and Flask. Okay, now moving ahead, then we have right. So we have installed gRPC. Now TensorFlow will start. We are saying that install TensorFlow. TensorFlow is a library by by Google. It's actually wonderful to, study TensorFlow. Okay, TensorFlow is open source. Okay, well supported by Google. So chances are that it's going to stay for long. And there are lots of innovation that are happening in TensorFlow. Okay, there are many, many more models and tutorials that are coming in TensorFlow every day. So, it'll be a good bet to go with TensorFlow. Though PyTorch is also very well done library. PyTorch is by Facebook, and Facebook is supporting PyTorch. So in either case, the libraries of TensorFlow, Keras is very similar to PyTorch and so on. So if you know the fundamentals, it'll be okay to use both of them, PyTorch or TensorFlow at your will. And the underlying neural network, underlying theory and concept are common in both or all of the libraries for that matter. All right. So it's completely okay to use either of them. And we're going ahead with TensorFlow here. Okay. So TensorFlow, we are using the TensorFlow 1, but it's you can come up with TensorFlow 2 version for the same thing and so on. So we just wanted to have a simpler tutorial for this. Therefore, we just went ahead with this. Please notice that while you are installing it, sometimes your disk space might go up, all right, really high. In that case, what you can do is you can open, all right, you can open another console or something whereby you can manage your disk space. So I'm just opening another web console. Okay. I generally prefer from command line, but here we are going ahead with, all right. So I'm just keeping one more console open. This is same place where we are running the commands here. So whatever folders we are running here, they are same here. Okay. So let me just try to show you this. So here, right? So you can see that if this is the list of all my files, and it's the same environment where we are doing it. So you can see that this is the folder that we are working with. So in this environment has been created. You can see that, and so on, right? So it's the same terminal. All right. Now what we do is let's just take a look at all the files in the current, right? How much size it's taking, how much disk space each one is consuming. And we will say du dash csh, okay? And css as in it'll only print the cumulative disk storage, okay? So it is basically, I'm just trying to see how much disk space is gone. So it has taken total 2 GB of space from my, right? So don't let it go beyond 3. Okay. Otherwise, it'll start throwing error because we have a disk space constraint on Cloud X Lab that we might be increasing later. But be careful. The moment you start crossing 3 GB or so, it starts giving some kind of errors. Okay. For me, if I want to see the sorted list, I can just say sort -h in a pipe. So the output of du goes to a sort, and you can see that the biggest one is this repository and second biggest is this. All right. So, and there is this one. So here, I could delete this one, but I don't want to delete it. But in your case, you can just decide on what all do you need, what all do you not need. Okay. So right now the TensorFlow installation is going on. Okay. So now you can see that this is done. All right. Let me just close this. Okay, so this has installed the TensorFlow and it's asking me to upgrade pip. Maybe, but I don't know. All right. So right now we are done with this installation. So let's just try to do it. So it says that you have not installed Pillow. Okay. That's the one thing that we forgot. Now, Pillow is a library for image manipulation. It's a very powerful library, and I use it often in most of the things. Okay. So now we are done. We can just click submit answer and see what happens. Wonderful. Okay, so good. Now it's saying that now is the time that we start working on things. So now we are done with the installation. So the first thing we are doing is going in that sequence. First of all, we are going to create something called app helper. Okay, it's a Python code, and we will be creating app underscore helper.py. Okay, now in this file, we will basically create a function named get classes. Okay, and okay, I'll just go here. So the important part to notice is that you are currently in your this folder, right? This is my parent folder. Slash home is the home for all the users on this server, and this is my login name, and this is a login name that is generated by CloudX Lab for you, and this is the folder that we created. Okay, so PWD gives us present working directory. Now we can we can basically, if you go cd tilde means home directory. If you see, now my home directory is slash home slash Sandeep Giri 9034. Okay, I can go back there. And cool trick is that you can quickly press tab after pressing I and you will be here. Okay, so this is the only thing we have right now. All right, now we can create a file called apphelper.py. Okay, there are many ways to do this, but right, one is using going to the MyLab and clicking on Jupyter, and inside Jupyter also you will see the same folder structure. I'll just show you that. Okay, all right. So here you will see the same folder structure, whatever you see there. Okay, do you see the folder that we are doing? Yes, here. Okay, you can see here also we can create a new file. Okay, and right, work with that. All right, but I'll just leave it open. We'll just focus on this. This is something important because here we are learning the Unix tools, and those are really, really helpful, specifically when you are doing the web application development. The chances are that your servers will be in Linux or Unix, and there you will basically have to edit the things remotely on the server. For those kind of things, these text-based editors are really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this, create a file called app underscore helper using vi command. Vi, and I am just pasting it. Okay, great. Now vi, when you open, right, when you open this, vi is essentially a text editor. Okay, a little different than what you have used in Notepad. This is essentially Notepad running on remote server for you. All right, so here basically the vi has multiple modes. Okay, by default when you open it, this vi is in the command mode. Okay, right now this is in command mode. To take it into the editing mode, you can just press I. Okay, and to go back to the command mode, we can press escape. Right now I'm back in the command mode. Right now I can do the command, run the commands like :q to quit this. Okay, or I can save the file also. Okay, so now it has saved the file. If I want to quit and save the file, right, we have to say write and quit. So :wq. So that's our command mode. Right now we are in the command mode. Now let's get into the insert mode. Insert mode is the mode in which you do the text editing, or append mode. You can say A for going into append mode, I for insert mode. Insert mode and append mode are almost same. There's not much of a difference. Okay, so we are going to say I. All right, so now this is coming into insert mode. This is the text we want to put in this file. Okay, I just copied it, and after changing the mode to insert, I am pasting it. All right, notice this, that okay, while we are doing this, please notice that we are creating a function called get classes, which takes an argument of the file path. Okay, And basically, this is the one that creates the model. Okay, when you say model equals my model, it's essentially creating this model. Okay, so in the beginning, we are importing the ResNet. ResNet is a complex, little bit more complex model in machine learning, and if you've seen other machine learning tutorials, you will know that what is a model. So ResNet is a pre-trained model on various objects. We are not going to do any training here. We are only going to do inference. Okay. In machine learning, what happens is that we train a model on various kinds of objects, just like people are trained on various things in childhood. Similarly, we train the machine to learn to predict something. All right. In this case, this one is going to do the prediction of the object in an image. All right. So that is pre-trained on thousands, millions and millions of images. And it has been shown the image and told that this is this class and this object contain this particular image contains this particular object contains this object, and so on, right? So this is basically the guy who will be doing the magic for us. This is the code that will be doing the magic for us. Okay, so we are saying that load this weights, okay, create the default model, and then in this one, what we're doing is we are saying image.load image. This is where we are creating the image object from the path. So this is the image object. Then we are converting this image to array. Okay, so this is an array. And here we are converting image to the NumPy array. NumPy is the main library using which basically it's like an array, very efficient array, because Python's array or list is not that efficient. Therefore, this NumPy package was created, and it is the de facto standard for defining an array. Okay, so any array is converted to NumPy array. Almost every machine learning package or any package that needs efficiency, they all deal with NumPy array. For example, if you use MoviePy, you use let's say video files, the sound files, all of them will create at the end of the list of numbers using NumPy. Okay, therefore we have converted this image, this image to array, and that array to NumPy array. Now we are saying that pre-process the input. Okay, this pre-process method comes from the ResNet library. They have certain expectation of the image to be pre-processed. This image will be pre-processed, as in it'll reshape it into certain size and so on, so that it is ready to be fed to the neural network. And here it is being fed to the neural network. So once we have the predictions here, then we are feeding it to the decode prediction method that is again coming from ResNet. And then the predictions, we are saying that give me top 3, and from that we are picking the 0th row, because the result is in a two-dimensional array. Therefore, it basically gives a list of predictions, list of predictions. So we convert it into, we pick only the 0th one from there, and then we return. So this is get classes method. Okay, so now to save it, we'll just say W, and to quit this, we can say :Q. Please notice that I quickly moved from the editing mode into this mode. Okay. All right. So this file that you see here, okay, this file apphelper.py, okay, you could as well create it using Jupyter, Jupyter model. Okay, I'll delete this file from here. Okay, I'll just delete from here. Using rm command, you can delete things, right? Delete a file. If you have to delete a directory, you have to say rm space -r. Okay, now I've deleted this. Now it is no longer there. Okay, I deleted it just to show you how else can you create it. Okay, the other way would be to create it using nano. Okay, and I copy paste this here. Okay, I copy pasted here, Control V, Command V on Mac, and Control Shift V on Windows. All right, so we have the file. here, we can take a look at the file using either tail command. Okay, tail prints last 10 lines, or cat command prints everything. Okay, so this is the full file that it has printed. Okay, print as in print on the screen. Okay, now I want to show you how else can you create the file. The other way would be to create a file using here in Jupyter. You went to the folder where you want to create a file, new text file, and then wait for it to open. You'll have to change the name. Okay, you have to change the name. I'm changing the name by clicking the title, and then you have to copy this content and paste it here. Of course, you can use the command. I'm just using this. Okay, now we have saved the file. Let's take a look at if it is created or not. Going back here to the terminal, say cat. Okay, so you can see that it has saved it well. All right. Great, great. Now that we have saved it, if you are not comfortable with VI, you can use Nano or Jupyter Way. Either way is fine. All right. The most important part is that you should know what you're doing. All right. Let me just submit it. Moving ahead. It seems to work so far very well. Now is the time that we basically, right, create the static directory. So as per that diagram, we need to create the static directory. Not a big deal. All you need to do is make directory mkdir and say static. Okay, moving ahead after checking with submit. Nice. So this is working. This step was really small. Now we were just following that one. So now we are supposed to create the CSS file. All right. Now inside the static folder, we have to right now we need to go into that static folder. Static, using cd command we can go there and change the right. We have to now create another new directory named CSS. Okay, we created CSS. No, let's create CSS and go into CSS. All right, so right now there is nothing inside CSS. I'm going to create the using vi. I'm going to create main.css. Main.css is basically a file that is going to stay here. Okay, so I'm saying vi main.css. You can as well create it in Jupyter or Nano, whatever you prefer. Right now I'm in command mode, so I'm going to switch back to the insert mode using I, and it's simply I. Okay, now I'm going to copy this code. Okay, I'll explain to you what it means. Okay. So essentially, the formatting of your web page is controlled by CSS. Earlier, it used to be as part of HTML itself. So the content that goes on your website is written in HTML, and which and HTML is nothing but bunch of boxes within boxes, right? So on web page, what you have is boxes within boxes and so on. And at the end of it, there is either image or the text inside these boxes, right? Or movie or iframe or other things. So these are boxes within boxes containing these elements. These are called divs or other tags. So everything is a rectangular box in your browser. Now, these boxes can be decorated, like what should be the margin, what should be the spacing, what should be the thickness of the border, and so on. What should be the color, and what should be the the font of various things, right? All of that is styling, and that styling is done. Earlier it used to happen in the HTML, but it soon became messy because it started mingling with the information, and that's why the separate file, CSS file, was created. Now that's why the CSS standard was created, that let's keep all the things that are related to style in a separate file or in a separate content. Okay, so that the difference between style and the content is separated. So here, this main.css that you see here, okay, is essentially, right, here you can see, we are saying the body, the background color should be this, font family should be this, header, the background color should be this, and so on. It's essentially, it'll find out the body, the tag named body, and apply these styles to this. Similarly, the browser will find out the class name of a particular element in HTML called title, then apply these formats to that. Okay, and these are the various class name. I'll show you the class name when we talk about this. Now let's quit. So I'm in command mode and say colon and W and quit. Okay, so now let's take a look at main.css. Yes, this is how it looks like. So far, we have been successful in creating this. Yes, you can see centered is same as this. Now we can say submit answer. Great, great. So far so good. Moving ahead, now we have to create uploads directory. So the present working directory should be static. Okay. All right. All right. So we are here. Okay. Now keep in mind that although here we are saying that create the uploads directory in here, in real life scenario, the uploads directory should be created somewhere which is not accessible from outside. This is a security, with respect to security, this static folder should not contain the upload. Imagine this, that imagine that somebody is uploading a file into this, right? And that file is basically a Python file. And that Python file might contain code that would run, right? And let's say user from your website, from your web application, user browses to this particular uploads folder, right? In that case, that file, they will be able to execute on server. Whatever they uploaded, they might be able to execute it on the server. But that's not going to happen here because we are controlling what to do where. But as a matter of, as a thumb rule, always keep a folder uploads or anything where the user contributed data is kept in a folder which is not accessible on public domain. Okay, so that's a very important note to keep. So this uploads folder, right now we have created here. This is where the we will store the images uploaded by the user. Okay. Ideally, it should be somewhere inside, not in the static folder. Static folder is something that is going to be accessible. But since we are not going to let the user access this one, so this is okay. All right. But in real life, it's a bad practice. Okay. So we have created the uploads folder. Let's just check. Yes, we have created successfully. Moving ahead, this is where we'll again go back to the top level directory. Okay, so let's just see. PWD is this. We can say cd dot 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 means going up one level, or we could just say cd like this. Tilde means home directory. Okay, cd tilde means home directory. Okay, now right. So it's the same thing. Either we went up or we went to the home and came back to the image classification app. All right, so it's the same thing. Now moving ahead, it's saying that creates a templates folder. Okay, pretty simple step. So all we need to do is mkdir templates and go into templates folder. Okay, so cd means change directory and we went to that particular folder. Moving ahead, now is the important part. So we have to create an HTML file. Okay, so now when we are creating HTML file, right? So what we have to do is we need to give the HTML content to the browser, right? We need to give the HTML content to the browser. Now, if our Python code is generating this HTML code and giving it to the browser, your Python code will become very messy, right? Then everywhere you'll have print this, print that, and print HTML tag and so on. Because browser understands HTML and CSS, but you need to give that HTML and CSS from the server side. Now, if we do everything, that print statement everywhere in your Python code, it's going to be very messy. Therefore, what you do is you create kind of a placeholder like HTML with placeholder. And what you do is you basically replace those placeholder with actual value and then serve it to the user, right? So this is what's happening here. So we are creating a layout file. Okay, we are creating a layout.html file, and in that, in the templates folder. Okay, so we are going to okay, let me just create this one. All right, using VI. If you are not comfortable with VI, you can as well go here in Jupyter. You can just say, go to templates and click on new text file and call it layout.html. Now, I'll just close this tab. Okay, now we will just keep it away. So we will have these 4 tabs open. Now, what you see is that we are creating layout.html here. Okay, and we are copy pasting this into, yeah. Okay. All right, so this is the layout.html, right? This is the layout.html. Now, this is the main layout. Okay, so when the server needs to tell browser that display something, the server needs to tell in this format. It needs to say that, okay, the doc type is HTML. HTML is starting here and ending here. Then the head is here and ending here. So every HTML document should have head and should have body. Okay, and in the head we keep things like the link to the external resources such as CSS and other things. So here we are accessing these styles. This is the bootstrap styles, and here we are again defining the other properties so that your website could be responsive. So this is going to be your kind of entry point where when the user accesses a page, this is what is going to get to the user. Except that here, right here is the body. I'll explain each part of it. There is header. Everybody has got header, and in our page, what we want to do is you want to display a block called header in our website, and in the header we are putting h1. This header probably comes from Bootstrap library, and there right I think this header is I think coming from the Bootstrap only, or maybe it is there as part of new standard. Now we are saying the content should be fluid, as in it should, when the browser when the user resizes the window, it increases or decreases. Now this is the block, and this is where the block ended. This is the placeholder. So our rest of the pages can include this layout and only put in the content inside that. This way, your entire website will have the same format. Your entire website will have same format. Usually we leave the space, leave basically skeleton here also. But right now for simplicity, we have just kept the placeholder here. Usually we'll have the placeholder here. Now, this is the JavaScript. Okay, this is the JavaScript related to Bootstrap and Popper, this one. Now here, please note that these are the standard libraries. So take a look at Bootstrap, take a look at jQuery, take a look at, take a look at the general CSS and HTML to understand what it means by HTML, what it means by CSS, what it means by various JavaScript framework. All right. So usually people prefer jQuery for manipulating JavaScript instead of writing code in JavaScript. JavaScript is essentially a code that runs in the browser mostly, but it can be run in frameworks like Node.js on the server. So on the client side, we need to have the JavaScript, which will do the magic on the manipulation of the page. All right. So this is the layout.html that contains how to render the page. All right. I'm going to save it and quit it. Okay, saved it. Now let me just go back here and okay. I think I all right. Okay, cool. So we are done with this part. All right. we can also take a look at vi here. Vi layout.html looks like it is opened, and now since we are in the command mode, we can quit it using :q. All right, so let's just test if it is working or not. Yes, it just checked whether we created the file or not, and it gave a go ahead. Okay, it definitely did not check what is there in the file. Our assessment engine checked the remaining file. Now we are already on 12th step. Do you see that? Now we are creating, we're going to the templates folder, first of all. Yes, we are there. Now we are creating a file called index.html. This is going to be your entry point. Okay, this is going to be your entry point. All right, this time we are using vi. So I'm shifting between the two because you become comfortable in both and do not get confused what's going on. Okay, so here is what we are trying to do. Okay, so we are creating the index.html. Now this is a very important part to know. Here we are saying that at this particular file, okay, I'm pressing as I press escape :w. W means we have saved the file. Now this is extending layout.html. Okay, so whatever we created in layout.html, it took that and then defined the block content here. Okay, we defined the block content, this one, which was empty here. We are saying that replace that empty one with this value. Okay, so at the end of this, index.html will become this, and in place of this it'll be these few lines. Okay, and what does this few line contain? The few lines are saying that this is centered, this is again centered, and we are saying there is a label saying upload an image to predict its class. Okay, we are putting a text label. After that, there is a form here. Okay, you can see div is essentially a placeholder, like a block in which you can keep other blocks. So inside this, inside the center, inside this div, exists another div in which there is a form. Every form have to have an action, okay, and it has to have a method. Method could be post, method could be get. Okay, so go through what is post and what is get in general documentation. It's a standard, uh, HTTP standard. So now we are saying that the form, okay, the method is post and it is being hitting here, right? So input type is file, and it meaning that there'll be the file button, right, where you see the browse, and then there is something called submit. So this one will bring that browse button in your form, and this one will basically add a submit button. When you click on this submit button, the request will go to /uploader with the content. Okay, /uploader with the content. Now you might ask that where is /uploader we have defined? That's what we're going to define inside app.py. Okay, so index.html contains everything. All right, index.html contains everything. That's an entry point. Again, take a look at this part. So when the user requests this file, it doesn't have to do anything. All it needs to do is replace that, the main content body with this, and then serve it to the user. Okay, very simple. All right, let's just check. Yes, so we are through with how many steps? We are already through with 13 steps. So we are towards the end. Inside the templates folder, now is the task. Now the task is to create something called upload.html. Okay. And again, we are going to go with vi, open it, press A or I, whatever you like. Take it to the insert mode or append mode. And then we are going to put in this part. Okay, this is a little big text, so I'm going to walk you through this, what is there in. So it again is extending the layout. Layout is the main thing that we are extending. Okay, and we are saying that replace the block with the name content with this content. Okay, so here we are basically saying this is the div. Okay, a block, as in the div block is in our rectangle, inside which there is a row, and we are saying this. Okay, so here we are displaying the uploaded image. Okay, notice that we are displaying the uploaded image. Okay, notice that we are displaying the uploaded image here, and then, right, and then okay, so this is the image, whatever the user uploaded, we are showing it here at the top, and then here we are basically displaying predictions, meaning what objects are found there. Now your question is, where will these predictions come? Right now, we are just making it like a placeholder. So what we'll do is at the runtime, we'll replace this predictions value using what our Python code has given. Okay, so this is a placeholder which will be filled by the code. Similarly, this is these two curly brackets, right, signify that this is a placeholder. Okay, and then here we are saying that you can upload another file and try it out. Okay. So the same thing will be repeated. It goes to uploader, it has a file and submit. Same thing is being repeated here. Okay. So you could also as well create a separate file called upload.html, and you can include that particular one here. Okay. Now, once we have this, let's press escape to go to the command mode, :WQ. It is saved. Now we move ahead. Okay, let's just take a look. All right. So far, so good. Now is the last step. Okay. Now is the last step. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a full-fledged app. Okay, the entry point, the main entry point is what we are creating at the end of it. Okay, so we are going to create app.py. Okay, we are saying vi app.py. Okay, sorry, let me just see. It should not be inside here. It should be one level up. Okay, here it should be your present working directory should look like image classification app, not the templates. Okay, now right, so we are going to create app.py. All right, I pressed A so that it went into insert mode, or I could press I to take it to the insert mode. Now we are saying from Flask import, from Flask import Flask request render template. Okay, so here we have not given exact code. You have to do a little bit juggling. Okay, we purposefully did this. Okay, and import secure file name. Okay, then we are saying import OS, and then we are saying from app helper import everything. Okay, so remember this app helper is something we created. So when basically get classes method will come here. Okay, from app helper, the get classes method will come here. Okay, if you are not sure what it means, I'll just say, let me just close this one and go back here and open Jupyter again. All right. So let me just go to that folder. There's too many folders. Okay, so here there is something called templates, and inside templates there is something called upload, index, and so on. In this one, you see that right, there is what do you say, the okay, so let me just save it first. Okay, right. No, I actually wanted to show you app underscore helper. Let me just show you app underscore helper. All right. So app underscore helper is this. All right. So remember this. When we say import app underscore helper, this is basically creating your own pack module. Okay. So from this app underscore helper, this name, when we are importing, this has to be same as your file name. first name, not the last name. So we are saying from app underscore helper import star, meaning that it'll get you the classes. Okay, so now it'll get you the classes, all the classes, all the methods from it. So we'll get one method called get classes. Okay, now then this is the game where we are starting the app. Okay, so okay, so it is saying that create an app. Okay, so Flask is basically we are starting the Flask app. We are creating an object of the Flask. Okay, here we are passing a string. By default, the current name of the program is being passed. Now, next step is what to do. Define the rules. Okay, define the rules. When the user accesses our website, right? It says google.com/ or cloudxlab.com/. So when user accesses this slash, what happens? Okay, it's going to reply to the user. Okay, so when here we are saying the app root equals slash, meaning when the user hits slash, this function will be called. And what does this function have? This function is returning the result of render template on index.html. So it'll basically find this templates folder, and from there it'll serve index.html. All right, and it'll automatically find that templates folder. Now, okay, next target that we need to define is the slash uploader. When the user is uploading, remember that form target? That form target, when the user is submitting that form, when the user is clicking on submit, it's going to slash uploader, right? You saw that in the form. I could just take you again. If you go back here and go to say templates and say upload.html, right? Not like this. I wanted to edit it. Okay, so what you have is there you have target called slash uploader. So when you submit the form, it is going to go to slash uploader. So what to do in that case? We are defining here. We are saying that if there is a request for slash uploader and the method is post, meaning there's a binary data that is being submitted with it, call this method. Okay, and what to do in this method? Here we did not do anything. We just gave the index.html, right? Here what we're doing is we are doing the real job. Okay, we are saying that if the method is post, okay, get the files from the request. Okay, when the method is post, it will come with the file as a bundle, and then you are extracting that file, right? Now we are creating this file here. Of course, you should avoid doing this because it will what if a file name has very special character? Okay, though that part is taken care by secure file name. Okay, so it is going to create a file in the current folder, right? Okay, inside the current folder there is static, and then there is a uploads. Okay, so it gives us the current folder, and then the inside that static, inside that uploads, and this inside that there is going to be the file. So this is the full path. Okay, and we are saying f, as in f was something that was received from the request, and we are saving it to this file. Once we are done with that, then we are saying predictions equals get classes. Get class is the method which we defined earlier, which was getting you the results. Okay, now here we are going over the predictions. Okay, we are saying that we are going over the predictions. We're saying that for each prediction, right? And whatever is the result of these predictions, it will have three things: some ID followed by the class name and probability. These three things it will basically contain. So the result of this get classes method is an array of tuple. Okay, tuple is nothing but values, commas. You can think of them as like a smaller array. So it'll give you an array of tuples. Each element of the array is a tuple, and the tuple contains the first element, some ID, then class, then it's probability. Okay, so whether in the image it's a balloon, or it's a person, or it's a tie, or it's a shoes. So all of that is prediction class. We're going over that, and then we are saying we are converting that into a string. Okay, and then we are printing it here. That's pretty much, and then we are joining it and printing it. So all the classes that have been predicted by the model with their probabilities will be presented to the user. Now we got that in preds. Now notice this. Here we are saying that render template upload.html predictions equals spread. That's what we are passing. And remember upload.html? Upload.html looked like this, right? It showed there is a variable called predictions, and that variable we are filling here while we are saying render template. This is the template name. This is the key value pairs that you are passing it, and that's about it. Okay. And display image equals f dot f name, right? So you remember the other one, display image. So display image will get the file name, file image. Okay. Here images rc equals this. So it'll display the image, and here we will substitute the predictions. So that's an important part. Now what else do we need to do? The only thing we need to do is we have to define this. Okay, right now we have only defined functions, but there is no entry point as such. We have only defined functions, but there is nothing is getting started yet. So we created an app, and then we are basically defining an entry point. Okay, there we go. All right. So we have done it. Okay, now is the time to run it. Okay, please notice that, just a moment. Please notice that here we are saying app, this app, okay, not this app, this Flask app. We are saying app.run host 0000, meaning if a computer has multiple card, every computer has the network interface. We call them network, right? Like a computer which has Wi-Fi and a LAN card, it has two network interfaces. One is the Wi-Fi, and other is the LAN card. While usually servers have multiple LAN card connections, right? Which also means that all of them could have different IP address. And while defining a web app, we could say that this should only serve this particular IP address range, right? So listen only on this particular interface, not the other one, right? If you want to listen on all interfaces, you can say 000000, right? That's how you make it listen on all the cards. If you want to know how many network interfaces your Linux computer has, you can use ifconfig. Right now it is showing that there are three interfaces. One is Docker, which is virtual one that we have created. This is the real one, Ath0. And loopback is something like, every computer has, even if something, a computer doesn't have any network interface, there will be loopback. Okay. Loopback is the IP address is 127.0.1. Okay, so that's what we did. And second is there is something called port. Port is 4100. In case it throws an error about the port, you will have to re-edit this file and change the port number. Okay, you'll have to change the port number because there could be other user who is running their application at this port, and it might be blocked. Therefore, you can try anything above 4040. Okay, so 4040 to 4140. So you can try all those ports if the first one is not working while running. All right, so now moving ahead. Okay, now here is the important part. So it's asking us to go into this folder. Yes, that's where we are now. We want to take a look at this particular file. Okay, so this is the data set. This is the data set of the Imagenet. So we are doing the prediction using a model that is trained on Imagenet data set. Okay, ImageNet dataset was ImageNet was a global challenge hosted by, I think, some of the universities, in which many models competed on the machine learning challenge of identifying objects. And in this, you given an image, the objective is to identify what's there in the image. Okay, whether it's and there were 1,000 classes which need to be which can be identified. Okay, so it's a classification task. All right. Now, next thing is to know about the IP address. Okay. So as I said, if config at 0 will tell us the IP address. For me, this is the IP address. Okay. And now here, if you go to this, CloudX Lab IP mapping, right? You will know the public name for this. Okay, please pay attention here. This is important because this is where people make mistake, and this is a common thing. We wanted it to be purposefully just like servers. So this is the internal IP address. There would be a public IP address corresponding to this. We do not know the public IP address. Okay, so from here we can identify the public IP address. So it is e.cloudxlab.com. Okay, e.cloudxlab.com for me. Okay, for 10.1. It might be something else. Just take a look at the IP mapping so you will get the idea. Now that we know that it's e.cloudxlab, now let's run the app.py. Okay, looks like it is running. Okay, it would be running at 4100 because that's what we configured in app.py. Okay, if you are not sure, you can control C. Control C basically interrupts it and print what is there inside the app.py. Okay, so you can see here it's 4100. So we are right. Let's run. Okay, in case this port is busy or somebody else is running on it, okay, then right, can run it. Also, if you want to run it in the background, you can put ampersand on it. You can put ampersand on it. Okay, so now it has been loaded and is active. Now is the time. This will not open. Okay, please note that this will not open. Instead, you will have to say, instead of 0.0.0, you would have to say the public IP address. The public name is e.cloudxlab, right? Because my IP address was that. Okay, bingo. So this is the web app that we built. It has, this is the header, and this is where we are going to choose a file. All right, so let's just find out the things from internet. Okay, I'll just say things. Okay, let's just go to images. All right, which one do we want? I like this one. I'll try this one. Okay, so this is what is this? This is some balloon. Let's just see. I'm just going to save it to my local file system. All right, so I just saved it here. All right, so it's some random name. It really can't figure out from that, from the name. Where is our, here. Okay, now we are choosing the file. Okay, this is the one that we just created. Yeah, so this is the one that we save, not this one. I'll just say downloads. Okay, in here. All right, open and submit. All right, it's going to take a bit of time because it's doing a lot of work over here. In the next tutorial, I'll show you how to make it very efficient. Right now, it on an average takes more than 10 seconds. But in that particular tutorial, we have brought it to lesser than 2 seconds. And looks like there's an error because the file name contains brackets. Okay, I'll just rename the bracket one. I have already renamed it. Okay, I'll try this. Okay, so now, right, I could see this here. This is where everything is going on. If you want to cancel your server, you can just press Control C to cancel it. Right now, this is showing post/uploader 200 means successful. Okay, there. Isn't it impressive? The probability of it being balloon is 0.99. Second one is parachute, 0.00211. And then there is a probability of airship. These are the top three classes identified in this object. Okay, let's try something else. Okay, so, all right, let's just try, okay, let's just try, okay, will it work? Let's just see. All right, this is some object. We'll just give it good. Okay, this is in the download folder. We go here and say choose a file. All right, and we say submit. Wonderful. So let it go, and we'll just take a look at what's going on in our lab. Okay, it is doing this. Yes, looks like it is. Yes. It says there is a toilet seat. Interesting. There is a birdhouse and there is a binder. Interesting. So none of these classes were configured in the natural object. Okay. What exactly is this? Will it work? Okay. All right. Let's just go here. Okay. First step. Not first step. E.cloud.lab. Yes. For me, it's E. For you, it could be something else. All right. Let's just see. All right, this is coming up. So this was a successful, you know, so it has the chance of it being ice bear is this, llama is this, white wolf is this. Probably it doesn't have lamb. Okay. All right. So does it have lamb? No. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much. You can try more images and have fun. So this was the step. Now, when I try to do submit answer, it says that you need to delete this directory. Okay. All right. For me, I'm completely okay to delete the whole directory because I can anyway create again. All right. But you can download it to your machine. You can use FTP to go to your home folder and download this to your home directory download it. Or you can here also, you can go here and click at the top, and then you can start downloading if you want. All right. So here you can go and you can download these files. Okay. So, or you can zip it using the tar command and download in a single shot. Okay. So it's taking some time to delete the environment. Okay. So it's asking me to delete this. Now it's done. I can try now. Yes, we are done with the entire process. The environment was purposefully deleted because that'll make a space for on the disk. But if you don't want to delete it, you can just take a backup or rename it, rename it for that matter. Okay, and that should be good. Okay, but this exercise wants you to delete it. Now you can request a certificate. Okay, and here is certificate from me. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you like it, and do share the certificate with people. Also, spread the word around if you like these projects helpful. I'm really excited about these projects because they give you the real learning. All right. In the next tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to take this app and make it extremely fast. Okay. There you will study what is the content, what are the services, and so on. Bye bye. Have a good day.